This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Hey, welcome on. It's First Alert Weather Breakdown time. Again, I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason. Welcome on into our brand new work week. It is Monday. Time to get cooking here. And, our weather forecast here for this work week. Here for you. Again, I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason. I do the morning show. I do the First Alert Weather Breakdown. For those of you new, hey, we welcome you all. We welcome you in. It's ArkLaTex weather. That's entirely what we go over instead of just going over the weather. Instead of just going over the weather during the news shows for just only like 3-4 minutes, so to speak. We go over it in thorough detail on this weather podcast, essentially, here, which there's a lot of detail to get to here on this First Alert Weather Breakdown to cover all of our bases here for this next upcoming rain system. Guess what? I'm kind of excited. I got the adrenaline going. I got the blood flow going here for me here for the day today. Not going to lie, I didn't get much sleep last night, but it's something about the motivation as I said, I'm a big fan of just changing weather. Just change, period. Give me different seasons, give me different temperatures, give me different conditions. And we've had a lack of rainfall for quite some time. I mentioned this briefly here last week, but just so you know, especially for those of you farmers listening, if there are any listening out there, we haven't had any measurable rainfall for several weeks. Just so you know, it has been bone dry for the entire month of November. We have not had measurable rainfall in this single month. In fact, you have to go all the way back to October 25th. October 25th was the last time we had measurable rainfall around the ArkLaTex here. That was a week before Halloween. We are closer to Thanksgiving than we are to Halloween currently. Just goes to show you the timeline here. And we're still not even going to have rain for the next couple of days, but it's finally in sight. It's finally starting to settle in our forecast here, and almost our short-term forecast here for you coming on up. So we're going to go over the details thoroughly. Want to make sure we cover all our bases, especially because, again, we haven't seen rain in a while. So let's prep ourselves up for it again, so to speak, here later on this week. Now, for today, it's a cloudy but dry day. You already saw that. Excuse me. On the way out the door here for the ArkLaTex here to start off your Monday morning. In fact, for some of you, it was even foggy starting out in the morning hours. But essentially, we have a surge in moisture that is already leaning itself in front of the rain that's going to come here later on this week. But essentially, we're going to be trapped under this muggy, cloudy, as muggy as November can be. A muggy environment with lots of cloud cover and very warm temperatures as well. Get all this in our full local forecast here for you. So in addition to talking about the storms being back here this coming work week, again, we're going to go into when, we're going to go to the why, we're going to go to the how, all coming up in just a little bit. In addition to that, our exclusive content for the day today is looking forward to Thanksgiving. It is a week and a half away, specifically a week and 3 days away. It is located now in our 12-day forecast. So guess what? We can give some hints as to the temperatures and the weather conditions that you might expect here heading into next work week. And we do have some strong hints of some, I'm not going to spoil it yet, but with some strong hints of some certain weather happening around that time frame here for the middle of next week around Thanksgiving time. So I know your feast. Well, sometimes people have feasts outdoors, maybe. I don't know if you do or not. But anyways, the point is, if your weather forecast depends on it, I know you're going to be traveling around Thanksgiving. You might want to prep up for the weather just in case, heading into the middle of next week. All right, anyways. So, it is hot. It is muggy. It's not hot. It's very warm. Again, this is not summer heat. But it is incredibly warm here to start off the morning. I'm also feeling just warm inside the building, too. But anyways, let's get into our full local forecast here for you. Here's a live look outside. This was nothing but cloud cover, and this was almost complete dark gray outlook earlier this morning on this webcam headed out towards downtown Shreveport. Now we actually have a good amount of sunshine and blue skies, but you still see a good amount of cloud cover passing on by the webcam there for you around the ArkLaTex here. So some partly cloudy skies around the downtown Shreveport webcam there into Texarkana. you notice a little more covered in terms of the skyline there for you. It's still blue sky peeking on through and definitely some sunshine coming on down, but still a lot of cloud cover around the region. And that's what we maintain here pretty much each day throughout the first half of the work week. I really want to get into the why. I'm excited to get into the science of the why coming up in just a little bit. But essentially, we have cloud cover on top of us, but it's cloudy but dry weather here for the most part for the first half of this work week. So your Monday through Wednesday still looking pretty good. For the second half of the work week, that's when the storms come into play. That's when we really want to keep you first aware and first alert heading into the second half of the work week. A few of those storms could even linger on into your weekend plans. It's not looking as likely at this point in time. Not as many storms essentially covering your Saturday and Sunday as what could cover Thursday and Friday. Again, we'll get into that specific time frame in just a little bit. But I think the main highlight for the weekend is much, much cooler air in store. It's going to be an incredibly warm week where it's not even going to feel like fall around here. And case in point, these are the current temperatures out the door. And keep in mind, it is just past 10:30. 79 in Shreveport, 72 in Natchitoches, 71 in Texarkana. Last work week, we didn't even have high temperatures that reached up to this warm at all. 73 in Minden, 71 into Texarkana. A little cooler in the northern edge of the ArkLaTex, even though it's up by the Queen and Idabel. I think some of this has to deal with the cloud cover. If you notice, we just discussed how Texarkana has a little more clouds on top of their webcam at this hour, and that's blocking a good bit of sunlight out, especially for those of you in the northern half of the ArkLaTex, which are staying cooler underneath the cloud cover. Meanwhile, a lot more sunshine, and for the southern half of the ArkLaTex is giving us some good substantial warmth here for the day today. But hopefully, or I shouldn't say hopefully, but it is projected that all of us will get very warm here for this afternoon, obviously well above our typical November average. Lower 80s, 82 in Texarkana, 80 in DeKalb, 80 in Dangerfield, 81 in Carthage, 82 in Nacogdoches. These high temperatures are pretty similar to what happened yesterday as well, just for comparison, and pretty much throughout the weekend. 83 in for Shreveport, 82 in for Natchitoches, 80 in Homer. So going over the temperatures first, and then we'll get over the storm outlook and the storm timing here in just a little bit. Essentially, that's how we're going about the timing of this forecast here for you. Again, that's the highs today. Overall, next 5 days, you could pretty much see through Wednesday, highs pretty much remain the same. It's almost copy and paste from the weekend all the way through Wednesday before things change. Things are going to change once the storms come in, and they start to come in on Thursday and Friday, and that's what helps to start to cool us off. Highs are going to get down to the 70s, looks like starting on Thursday and continuing into Friday, just a slow eventual drop in the temperature here heading into the weekend. As for the mornings, though, it felt incredibly warm here out the door here to start off your Monday morning. Well, guess what? Get used to it. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even Friday. Mornings starting off in the 60s. I think that's the most surprising thing to me. I can get on board with kind of some 80s, obviously showing up in November and the early afternoon hours, but even then, we've maintained some cool mornings here for the most part in the early part of November. Even this time last week on Monday morning, we had morning lows in the 20s and 30s, and now we have lows in not just any part of the 60s. Lows are down only in the mid to upper 60s. Here for the most part, Tuesday through Thursday, at least. It is going to be incredibly warm here to start off our mornings, and that's mainly because of our surge of moisture, our surge of humidity supplying us with warmth overnight. Let's get into a little bit of the science and the nitty-gritty of how this is happening before we get into the exact timing of storms coming on through. Essentially, again, as I mentioned earlier on a rant here for you, we haven't had any measurable rainfall here since October 25th. This is the main culprit of why. High pressure system, this was right on top of us here for the better part of quite literally the past 3 to 4 weeks. But now it has finally opened the door to let in a little bit of moisture through because it's nudged itself a little bit farther to the east, and now it's pretty much centralized on top of the east side of the United States, not the central side. Here's what we're mainly looking at coming in from the west. Low pressure system and cold front. Just this was at the end part of last week on Thursday and Friday. You could see this system already swirling on the west coast. The west coast has been swamped with storms from this low pressure system, essentially camping out from states like Washington all the way down to California. There's been national weather headlines on flash flooding problems across Southern California near Los Angeles. The system is finally going to start to get slowly moving here. as we get into the work week, but it's going to be so incredibly slow. It's still located pretty much along the Rocky Mountains. And if you look at the entrails, though, or the effect of the system out in front of it, it's affecting the central portion of the ArkLaTex, which includes us here. So essentially what's happening is you get rotation around this low-pressure system, and what's end up happening is you go around this low-pressure system, and you can see all the clouds coming out of the south. We've got a good jet stream out of the south in front of this cold front that is helping to supply us with A, humidity, B, cloud cover, and C, warmth out of the south. That huge surge is going to continue to come on in, and the thing is, this is not going to stop anytime soon. This is the circulation until this system and this low pressure and cold front finally decides to move past the ArkLaTex, which unfortunately still isn't going to happen for a while. As just mentioned in our temperatures are stuck in the mid-80s, with our mornings stuck in the 60s day in, day out throughout most of this work week until the system comes on through. So on our first solar Doppler radar, technically our future tracks in the very short term, we're trying to see that maybe just a little bit of moisture would come out of the system here early this morning, in fact. But I don't believe, as of double checking, this is the local radar. Meanwhile, going a little bit into the regional outlook, if I zoom out our radar just a little bit, there have been some slight little stray storms that we've noticed, just some light rain showers you can see up into Arkansas. They've traveled up around Little Rock, central Arkansas, and this is moving up north and east further into Tennessee. They kind of spawn, though, almost on the edge of the ArkLaTex here. In fact, we had one cell that hit Howard County early this morning. Before that moved up into the north and east as well. But the point is that started just out of the ArkLaTex and moved further away from the ArkLaTex here. Thankfully, we're not seeing anything here for the rest of the day today, and shouldn't be doing that for the next couple of days. Overall, as I mentioned earlier, cloudy but dry. That's the name of the game here for Tuesday. Again for Wednesday once more. And you continue to see where these clouds come from. They continue to be supplied out of the Gulf, coming out of the south, until finally we get the actual cold front giving us storms. That's what's going to help us again to finally change the temperature outlook and to also solve us of our drought woes heading into the end of the work week. And you see some of that starting to come through here for Thursday morning. But as mentioned, this is going to be a slow-moving system. Slow-moving systems are perfect recipe for flash flooding. We do have a good amount of soil that has a good amount of space to absorb some water because it hasn't had much to absorb for the better part of 3 to 4 weeks now. But the point is, we have a good amount of rainfall coming on through that will give us, again, a healthy dose of rain. But it might be too much. It might be too much, but how slow-moving of a system this could roll in scattered storms into the region, into the ArkLaTex for Thursday and potentially Friday. We'll see. Different future tracks are still showing like different timings of storms coming in and out of the region for the 2 of those days, but we pretty much nailed it down to that. The end of the work week, if you will, Thursday and Friday, with a few of those storms potentially carrying on into your weekend. Severe weather could be possible. I would not say likely at this point in time, mainly because I really think I'm watching out for flash flooding a lot more in that regard. So we already took a look at the short-term future track. Let's take a look at the long-term future track when it comes to this system. Now, again, this is only one of many future tracks which are trying to say different timing of different timings of things of when does the actual system come in through between Thursday and Friday. As mentioned in the short-term future track, and what this kind of also entails, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Again, 3 days where you're holding on to cloudy but dry conditions, continuing to sustain a good amount of humidity into the region, and definitely a good amount of warmth, especially surprising warmth for November, a week in mid-November. But essentially, we get into Thursday, and this could start as early as the morning hours, especially in areas of the northern half of the ArkLaTex. And it could almost be stuck in areas of the northwest corner of the ArkLaTex here for a better part of Thursday, believe it or not. Kind of just hanging out either just off to the west side of the ArkLaTex or just barely crunching into the region here for you on Thursday night before the system moves in on through, it looks like in a Friday morning, and then leaves the ArkLaTex here for Friday night. If you looked and stared almost at Shreveport and the rest of northwest Louisiana, yeah, this future track is almost pinpointing that it's going to maybe even jump over the ArkLaTex. See, I'm not even sure how accurate that is because other future tracks are just showing a consistent wave of storms coming on by the entire region. That is after the line almost stays stationary for Thursday on top of spots like Texarkana and the I-30 corridor. It's a kind of a wacky forecast, and this has been the theme ever since this kind of a rainy outlook came about last week when we started really emphasizing it and hyping it up here for this week. So here is what we've got going on detail-wise here with the system here for you. Now, again, storms are possible here for Thursday and Friday, but it's a lot greater of a rain chance than what we've had over the past 3 to 4 weeks, which has been goose egg. Essentially, what we're trying to entail, though, is that a good amount of rainfall is going to come on in. We've had signs from the National Weather Service of them putting out some flash flooding risks already out for us, and the most prominent one is out for Friday between mainly the northwest corner of the ArkLaTex, somewhere between McCurtain County, northeast Texas, underneath marginal and slight risks of flash flooding up near there. Again, that's for Friday as of right now. There's also marginal risk for Thursday, pretty much right in the same area as well, too. Now, this doesn't mean it won't storm on the rest of the region. I believe that it will. Guess what? Here's a check at your 7-day rainfall potential. And, I mean, there's colors all around the ArkLaTex that's indicating not just rain happening on top of the region, but rain stuck on the region on the ArkLaTex as a whole. And again, the round of storms coming through here for Thursday and Friday is the only round pretty much progressing through the region here over the course of the next 7 days alone. That goes until, obviously, the end of Sunday. So the point is, this rainfall itself is going to come from this system alone, which is just going to happen only on Thursday and Friday. This is why we have a flash flooding issue. When you can get somewhere in the ballpark between probably 2 to 4 inches of rain widespread around the ArkLaTex here, despite that future track trying to almost jump a little portion of the ArkLaTex here, there are other future tracks like this one. Even though this isn't a future track itself, there are plenty of other rainfall models as a whole that do have a good consensus that everybody will get a hefty amount of storms between Thursday and Friday here for the end of this work week. That's what we have so far here for that. Again, we're going to get thorough more details once we get closer and closer and closer into the system. I obviously, just so you know, if those of you who don't follow me on social media, usually when the day before, or usually the day on especially, when these storms come on through, I like to post a good timing for the greatest chance that every region around the ArkLaTex can receive their storms. Hoping to put that through, obviously, closer to Thursday and Friday. Once we get more of an agreement, I'm talking to you, weather models. Agree. Come on. Come to a consensus. What we do know, again, storms Thursday and Friday here for the most part. A few of those could continue into the weekend. I'm watching out for a spotty chance of storms, maybe into Saturday and Sunday, but I will say things are looking better on those 2 days compared to certainly what Thursday and Friday will be. As for the conditions, again, next 3 days, it's going to be muggy, it's going to be cloudy, and it's going to be warm. Lows only down to the upper 60s. It's going to be T-shirt and shorts weather, what you're waking up to every single morning here for this work week in November. Surprising, I know. 80s today all the way through Wednesday. Then we start getting down to the 70s here once the rain comes in here for Thursday and Friday, and that leads us to much cooler conditions in store here for this coming weekend. That was looking at your full 7-day forecast and your full local ArkLaTex forecast as a whole. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but if you have any questions, feel free to go to our YouTube page, KSLA News 12, and I can answer any and all questions that you have about that local forecast. Hey, we are not done. We have a look at your Thanksgiving forecast. Thanksgiving is just a week and a half away. I would take it as like a preview of what could be to come because we're not even sure how much rain's going to happen exactly just between this coming Thursday and Friday. But we're going to try to give you good hints of what could happen and what is expected to happen out of this coming Thanksgiving. It is a week and a half away. It is in our 12-day forecast. We'll unveil that for you coming up after this quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome on back to the First Light Weather Breakdown. Again, thanks for joining me again. I'm meteorologist Evan Thomas, and here we went over the full local forecast, but we are not done because I guess technically we didn't go over the full forecast. The exclusive content here for the day today is just to go thoroughly over the 12-day forecast, which most importantly is thoroughly going over your Thanksgiving forecast, which is 2 Thursdays away. Just a week and a half, week and 3 days to be exact. Obviously, it's in our 12-day forecast. We have some pretty strong hints as to what's going to happen next week. And it kind of entails a little bit towards what's happening at the end of this coming work week. It looks like once one round of storms comes on through here for this Thursday and Friday, it kind of opens the gates for multiple rounds of storms to potentially come on through next week, unfortunately. So let's check out that full 12-day forecast here for you. Again, this was a look at the next 7 days here for us all around the ArkLaTex here, with highs in the mid-80s here from today all the way through Wednesday. Again, you're waking up to temperatures in the mid to upper 60s here pretty much all work week long. This work week as a whole is something you would see out of, late August, September, not November. That's the point, especially mid-November at this point. My goodness. But it looks like our season's going to be tried to be restored here around the ArkLaTex heading into the weekend and into next week. We got storms here targeting first Thursday and Friday. That's the biggest change of note because that's going to be the cold front coming on through to drop our highs from 84 on Wednesday to down slowly but surely down to what appears to be a high of 65 by this coming Sunday here for you. Again, that's all due to the massive rounds of storms happening again between Thursday and Friday. A few of those storms could carry on to the weekend, but it's kind of almost like a bridge. And what I mean by a bridge is it kind of lays off into the next round of storms, which is likely somewhere around Monday and Tuesday of next work week. And, well, if you would consider next work week a work week, so to speak. Anyways, the point is, Thanksgiving, again, 2 Thursdays from now, looks like we have another round of consistent storms potentially somewhere around Thanksgiving. Another cold front continuing to come on through. And I will say, here for the cold front for this coming Thursday and Friday, before I get into next week, for this coming Thursday and Friday, not only is going to drop the highs, it drops the lows. We drop the highs, obviously, into the 60s here for Saturday and Sunday. We drop the morning lows down to the 50s, if not 40s, here for this coming weekend. That's not really an Arctic cold front, so to speak. Our morning lows shouldn't get down to the 20s and 30s here for the weekend. It's not going to be bitter cold is what I'm trying to say here after this current cold front that's on our doorstep here for Thursday and Friday. Meanwhile, the cold front that will most likely come through next week, I have had hints of seeing an Arctic cold blast coming through somewhere around the middle of next week. And that could happen maybe around Thanksgiving. As of right now, we've kind of kept it passive on the temperatures and just keeping them in the 60s. I do think it's just going to stay cool out, but it could be upgraded to be cold out, so to speak. And once we get closer into the forecast here for next work week, as of right now, though, I got 60s for you, and unfortunately that could contain rain just somewhere around Thanksgiving. Obviously, it's still Evan, would I cancel my Thanksgiving plans outdoors at all at this point in time? No, please don't. I'm just saying watch out for storms around Thanksgiving. And maybe they could unfortunately happen on Thanksgiving itself too. But we'll see, and we'll keep you first alert. That'll be something to determine probably a week out to see if storms could legitimately get in that time frame or not. But as of right now, watch out for storms. And I think the best thing of note here for Thanksgiving to take away from this is that it's going to look to be chilly. It's going to look like we're finally going to get back into the season of fall. We start doing that through the weekend, but with more progressive storms and most importantly, more progressive cold fronts coming through, it looks like next work week, that could help to lower our temperature even more, not just for the afternoon for those highs to be limited into the 60s, but also for those mornings to be pretty bitter cold as well, and the nights to be cold as well, heading into next week as well. So it's looking like a chilly Thanksgiving, is what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't say guarantee that, but it's looking incredibly likely here at this point in time. But unfortunately, we do have to watch out for storms around that time. Well, unfortunately, it's the time of the year, especially for the most part. It's incredibly rare to have a cold front without storms. So storms help to usher in that colder air back into the ArkLaTex. And hey, our farmers will definitely appreciate the rain because, again, we have been in an absolute lack of it ever since the late part of October. You can even say middle part of October. Again, we didn't even have rain around Halloween at all. Anyways, that was looking at your full Thanksgiving forecast. Hey, guess what? Tomorrow we have another episode to give you the updates to the forecast, and we'll continue to update how things look on the future track and how the exact timing of our storms on Thursday and Friday pan out. Guess what? CJ Cartledge will be your host for that episode here for tomorrow. I will be back with you on Thursday's edition of First Alert Weather Breakdown. CJ's got you covered for both Tuesday and Wednesday coming on up. Hey, have a great rest of your Monday. Again, watch out for the storm. Stay weather aware here closer to the end of the work week here for Thursday and Friday. But for the meantime, again, you're hanging around with cloudy conditions. At least they're dry here for the most part. And warm conditions, especially in the morning. T-shirt and shorts all work week long in November. So I'm just getting flashbacks of wearing a heavy coat last Monday and Tuesday. That's the ArkLaTex. Changing forecast always. Just what I appreciate, but it's time to get back into the season, so to speak, especially once we head into this weekend. Anyways, you have a great rest of your day. CJ Cartledge to see you tomorrow at 10:30, same time, same place. Hey, stay real quick before I send off. Do we have any other comments? No other comments on our YouTube page. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me here for the day today. Have a great rest of your day. Tomorrow, 10:30, be there, be square. Most importantly, stay weather aware. Have a great rest of your Monday. And CJ will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.